welcome back. Welcome back to me. Welcome back to you. Once again, somehow sitting in front of this ring light with the light on for like 5 minutes and don't realize until I hit transition that there's a big fucking smudge in the middle of my glasses that I'm now looking at. Every time. Which is kind of silly, because like I don't think I wore these at all while I was on vacation. I brought them with me because I'm not stupid, but oh no. Okay, Banquos lives here, but did it work? Did it work? Well, it did, didn't it? Did it work? Cause no, we're. Thanks for the resub, Banquos. Hi, you heard stream voice and you came running, isn't that right, little Miss Lily? Snack time. Okay, so, also, hi, Diver. So, Banquos, hold that thought. I'm gonna refund that. I don't know if it actually, I don't think it worked. Because see, this is the thing, is I have the bot set up for that to give you VIP. But I don't think it worked. It's supposed to give you VIP, but also I hate that's like all that it does. Like, it's good and all and like whatever, but like there's no like fanfare that happens, and I want there to be fanfare. And I don't know how to make that happen, but like I'm gonna refund this, and by tomorrow, maybe I'm gonna do my best to make it more exciting. You recommending just screaming? What, someone delivers it and I just go, ah! Or like an actual sound alert, or just me screaming into the microphone, because that also works. Diver, that's your solution to things. But yeah, so let's try that one again tomorrow, okay? Cause yeah, the thing is I set it up with the bot, but I couldn't test it. Because like you can't give yourself VIP as a creator. I guess I should maybe make a second Twitch account to test things, but that sounds like a huge fucking pain in the ass, and I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna ask some people, and we're gonna make that better, I promise. And see, that's the thing, is Nulgar kinda used it, but I hadn't done the bot setup then. I just manually made him VIP. Thank you, baby. Everyone needed your head butt. Lily butt, little lily butt, lily butt, baby. But like yeah. And Diver here and Jess and a few other streamers I know have like custom intros for people who do things like that, and I don't know how to do that, but I like the idea of that, so like that's an option too. And like, if any of you guys buy that and I change things later, I will retroactively give you the goods. But like, fuck, I'm sorry. Diver, I would love help. I am fucking lost when it comes to all the bot stuff, and like it's kind of frustrating because like I feel like that's the stuff that I used to be kind of good at figuring out, and I just, for some reason, Twitch bots kind of melt my brain, but at the same time, when I figure things out, it's like, oh, that was easy. So, like, I don't know. I did also switch bots, so I thought that I had it set up anyway on a different one, and I didn't, like, delete it. But, Lily, don't touch the goblet, please. I don't need you to spill that right now. But yeah, so like I wasn't sure if the program needed to be open to work, and it kind of seems like probably it does. Wow. Hi. Baby. Oh, baby. And yes, Raz does in fact just need a little help. So Diver, I will take you up on that. Thank you. I am sorry for that extremely anticlimactic redeem, Banquos. Just perfect cat behavior, no big deal. Just full belly, yeah, both of those things. She's like, Mother, I have not been shown off to the internet in a week. I must remedy this so that they give me treats. Speaking of which, now you have treat points. Fair. Honestly, man, I'm gonna refund the snack time literally just because I feel bad. But if I refund the Spoil the Fuzz child, that means she could get 4 treats in a 2-hour stream, so we're not doing that. There you go, free jelly bean for you. You're welcome. She's so ready. She knows what's happening. She's so ready. Oh my god! Mom! Mama! You didn't see anything. Alex is fine. Wow! Look at this impatient little shit. I wasn't even trying to, like, make you wait. I was just, like, looking around, and then that. Hello, thanks. Manic cat behavior. You are such a drama queen, Jesus Christ. With a baby. Go sit down. Go sit. Jesus, Lily. That is not a cat, that is a cloud. I mean, correct. She is a poof. A big poof baby. A baby poof. Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, my cats don't hate me when I go on vacation. They just desperately swirl around me and like, oh my god, mom, when I get home. So that was nice. Kind of. They did scream at me a lot when we got home. Thank you for showing the internet your bum. Everybody loves it. Lily Butt is everybody's favorite. Yes, dear. Oh, sweet baby child. Sweet baby child. Child. See, Brenna, welcome on in. And don't make me regret this, but I do have, like, some suspicion for people who follow without saying anything sometimes, but not when the cat is being adorable. I'm like, oh, okay, that's for the cat. And, like, yeah, that tracks. Because it's like the 4th best feature of Raz's stream. What, Lily Butt? Yeah. Wow. You're such a suck. Look at you. Look at you. You're such a baby. You're such a baby. And let me guess, the top 3 are just, oh, Brenna, yes, you did just join the Stream Queen Discord, so no worries. No, it's totally okay that you don't say hi first. I try to be nice to everyone who follows. It's just that sometimes, or rather, a decent amount of the times when someone hasn't said anything first, they're trying to sell me something. So that doesn't, but when it's the cat, I get it. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to, like, throw any shade at you. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm just, that's been my experience, that oftentimes I'll be like, oh, hi, thanks for the follow, and then like, would you like to buy something? No. Maybe I am interested in your incredible graphics, Diver. Jeez. Oh, look at this Bab. Look at this little Bab. You're so needy. So needy. Like, she Brenna, you do draw. See, the problem is so do I, and therefore I've convinced myself that I need to do everything on my own, and it's been 2.5 years, so take that as you will. I would blame the ADHD, but it is also just me. Why not both? Why not both? So yeah, if you're, some of you in my Discord might have heard this, but happy Pride Month to my beautiful wooden By Pride pin that did not make it home with me from vacation. Diver, you say that you know that brain and it's in your head, and like I'm not arguing that point, but at the same time I also saw you like have your streamiversary and like have a whole bunch of stuff going on for that, and then you unlocked a bunch of emote slots, and the next day you had like 10 new emotes. So like you're still absolutely kicking my ass, bro. What is this baby? She's like, this isn't a game stream. It's just a baby stream. I'm a baby. This is baby. Hyperfixation is a hell of a drug. That's a good point. I wish I could hyperfixate on my Twitch add-ons and stuff. That'd be fucking great. But I tend to hyperfixate on other people's shit, or I end up like drawing over my iPad doing this for like 8 hours at a time, and then I come out of my stupor 8 hours later, and I'm like, and it's awful. It's easy when you should be doing other things. Good point. See, I'm still at that stage of terrible ADHD coping / self-employment where I tell myself that if I'm not doing the stuff that I'm getting paid for, I don't deserve to do anything. And so I just sit here and can't start the thing that's important. And so I just scroll on Twitter and hate myself for 3 hours. It's not great. I'm gonna be honest, not ideal. You are ridiculous. And fat. But also just ridiculous. At least I got to go to the pool today. That's complete non sequitur at this point, but it was nice. I was missing the pool the entire time that I was in Toronto, so yeah. Can you chill? Lily says no. Lily cannot chill. But yeah, like, you know shit's gotten bad when I'm just like spontaneously cleaning things because I'm using cleaning to procrastinate. Like, cleaning is usually the thing you procrastinate. So if you're procrastinating by cleaning, the other thing's real bad. Or at least I've decided that it's real bad, even if it would take me 5 minutes. Hello, streamer. Would you like to grow your stream? Would you like more treats and subscribers? Visit lily.but for more info. Hi. Hi. How hard is she gonna wig out if I just sit here and look at her but don't touch her? Hi. How's it going? What's up? Are you baby? Are you a good baby? She's so upset. Hi. just wiggle. Mama. Wiggle, wiggle. What if I... I love you, Lily. She's so dramatic. So yeah, I don't know if I'm reading tonight or not. Casual air biscuits, yeah. But I did put gin and coke in my dramatic bitch living her extra life goblet, so we're prepared if we do decide to go that route. Why are you leaving litter on my desk, stinky butt? Oh, Bankos, the concerned look on Lily's face is her resting face, but also it was probably more so in that moment, yeah. If ever you don't have a goblet, you think you want a goblet, do it. So, can you stop? Can you not put your butthole in my drink, please? Thank you. 2 of them for $10 at the thrift store. I'm so fucking pleased with myself. And should you too find an excellent goblet at the thrift store, you too shall be pleased with yourself. I promise. It's delightful. Like, at least half the time I've used it, there wasn't even booze in it. It was just me being extra because it's fun. Brenna also needs a goblet. You know what, Brenna? While you're here and I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna go follow you back. Too bad, so sad. Why does Twitch make it so hard to click into someone's profile? What? Oh. Well, fine. Okay, it's just, Twitch has decided I'm not logged in anymore, but I have the page open, so it's gonna happen. Actually, you know what? Whatever. We're just chatting anyway. I can chat and also type a password in at the same time. That's not hard. I'm a big girl. Or something. But yeah, it has regularly taken me way too fucking long to remember to go and follow the our lovely stream queens, and that's a shame, and I want to stop doing that, right? So oh no, I don't think I hit the trust this thing, which is annoying. There we go. Anyway, I did it. I'm a winner. Brenna, you know, is stupid. You're a web streamer mostly, sometimes art. Fantastic. I keep telling myself I'm gonna do art streams, and then I never get around to doing it because I constantly am just like, I don't know what I want to draw. And like, I don't understand how people can just like open a drawing program and be like, doodle, doodle, doodle. Oh, okay, this is the thing I'm doing now. No. I overthink everything. I don't know how to do that. And thank you, Brenna. You are also a winner. I was gonna say, like, jokingly say, because I'm your follower now, but that's too conceited, even for a joke. Brenna, you have those days, yeah. Diver, you think if people ask for suggestions, it's a little easier. That's fair. That is completely fair. And yeah, like, WoW is always a good staple, and we do that too. It's been on and off, well, mostly off for a few months for me, but like, you know, I've jumped back in a bit recently. Banquet, you say that, then you just start running Mythic Pluses with a vase full of Crown and Coconut Cream Dr. Pepper. Bro, what the fuck is coconut cream Dr. Pepper, and why does it sound like the worst thing that anyone has ever invented? I mean, maybe, okay, I'm biased because I don't really like Dr. Pepper to begin with, but damn. Yes, we know. We know. Well, Diver, I was still, my guy, it's fucking great. Prove it, Banquos. Mail me a can. But Diver, technically we met because I raided you while you were playing Thirsty Suitors, but I was still playing WoW at the time, and I am playing WoW again. So yeah, so I believe that it's definitely come up. But you know, we did in fact bond over the extremely gay phenomenon that is Thirsty Suitors. Oh. So Brenna, Banquos is going to be probably, or at least probably modest about it. Banquos is the best demon hunter I have ever met. In that, he regularly kicks my fucking ass on the damage meters despite being a tank while I am a Fury Warrior. So there you go. I answered both questions, but also sorry for answering the question for you, Banquos. Diver, fine. Honestly, Diver, I'm very surprised that I remember that, but it's mostly because here's the mush. Because I was just very, very delighted to have found you. We hit it off instantly, and it has been a delight knowing you. And so Thirsty Suitors is kind of just there, but also, yeah, I loved it. And that too. But you know, I also have started a bunch of shit on stream and didn't finish it, Diver. So I'm not judging. Although to be fair, streaming is also the only reason I've actually finished a bunch of games, because there are probably a few that I just would not have gotten around to finishing if I didn't feel like I should, for content, just to not be like, well, also, especially if they're recommended games. And Diver, I'll make you cry in the club if you want. It's Pride Month, bitch. Anyway, Brenna, heck yes, you're an outlaw rogue main. Awesome. I cannot play a rogue to save my life. I do not know what it is. I love the vibes. In theory, I should love it, but I haven't ever gotten past level 20 without being like, I can't do this, I'm bored. So, I respect it though. And Banquos, well, Banquos, you've been stuck in tank jail for this season, but haven't you just been stuck in tank jail for this entire expansion, or do you get breaks? And yes, Diver, it is fair. Yeah, I'm still really upset about losing my pin on this here, the first day of the good Babadook's Pride Month. May it live forever with the Mothman in the sky. But yeah, Pride Month. I also didn't go to Pride yesterday, which I feel frustrated about, but also I had just gotten home from a week-long vacation where all but one day, we went out every single day and met like 2 groups of people because we were just trying to cram all of the people we wanted to see into 1 week. And a bunch of that involved running around on Toronto public transit, which was a lot. So I'm sorry, gays, I was too tired yesterday. And I did not want to leave the house. Anyway, Brenna, Rogue, I guess can be an intense class. I don't think it's the intensity that bothers me though. Like I said, I can't even really put my finger on what it is. It just doesn't click for me. Which is fine. Like, whatever. Not everything is for me. Yeah. Brenna, you hate that you have a prop pally because you often get asked to come tank when you're like, can I have DPS, please? Well, you're in luck. I have a prop pally and I fucking love tanking on that. So if anyone ever asks you that and you desperately don't want to do it, just be like, hey, Raz will do it. There you go. Problem solved. But I refuse to tank on my warrior, so I do get you. In Bengals, it's a Dr. Pepper with coconut flavoring. You like tiger blood flavored shaved ice, so it's good. What? What Americanness is this? Diver, yes, Prot Pally, I know these words, yeah. And Diver, is there any world where I would recommend someone play WoW for the first time this late in the game? So that's the thing, like, and Brent, I'll loop back around to the vacation in a minute. We're bouncing. We're full ADHD mode. There's a tiny bit of booze involved, and we're bouncing. Like, so the thing is, I do think that at this point it is difficult to recommend WoW to a new player, because people get overwhelmed. It's a lot. There's 20 years worth of content. A lot of stuff is explained on third-party sites and not in the game because, again, there's just so much content, but also Blizzard has gotten really used to being able to rely on these sites. Thank you very much for the follow, Tree. And that. But if you have a group of people who will play with you and help explain things to you and all of that, I do think that it's possible to jump into it and enjoy it. They do have a bunch of other like systems and things these days that are designed to like get you kind of right into the action to play with your friends. It still takes a little while of ramp up, but like unlike in the past, it used to be like, I don't know, like a month before you could do anything with your friends because you had to catch up, and it is a lot better than that now. So would I say it's completely prohibitive? No, but would I like recommend it? But yeah, like it's cheaper than it used to be. It's easier to jump into things than it used to be, but it is a lot. And I definitely wouldn't recommend it unless you have someone to play with you. And of course, every time I bring it up here on stream, I am happy to play with people, but I also am only online some of the time, right? So thank you for thinking my take is reasonable. Banquos, you like your Demon Hunters, well, for the Vengeance Demon Hunters being your main since Shadowlands Season 2. It's just that you've got a Mythic Plus group that has 3 healers and 7 DPS, but only 1 tank. Yeah. And yeah, like in that case, I would help Banquos do some tanking with said Prot Pally, but said Prot Pally is not at all geared, even a little bit, and they're doing like fucking 23s. Or they were last season. I don't know what the numbers like match up to at this time. But yeah, Diver, it feels like a little like something you'd make a character in with all these hopes and dreams and then get overwhelmed. Yeah, and like that's the thing is I love WoW and I want to pull friends into it because I know that we have the potential to have a really great time playing together, but I'm afraid of suggesting that someone spend a bunch of money and get into this thing and then they hate it and it's overwhelming and they don't want to do it. So like it's hard for me. I want to play with my friends and make more friends to play with, but right? So yeah, well, and like the thing is for me is I keep coming back to WoW mostly because of the social aspects. And when I don't have that, it really falls flat and it's hard to stay, which is also a big part of why I haven't really succeeded with sticking with other MMOs. And the one that has the social aspect that I think I could get into is Final Fantasy XIV, but I don't like it. For a bunch of other reasons, and it like it's not a bad game, it's just not for me, and that's fine. But yeah, like I've played a ton of different MMOs and I never stick with them, but with WoW I keep coming back. And yeah, a lot of it is just the social aspect, a lot of it is familiarity, and it's like one of the few games that I can like actually be good at. But yeah, it's a thing. Also, yeah, no worries for the lurk, Banquez. You're probably not listening because you're probably in voice chat or something. But regardless, Brenna, you don't have a set group this season. You're pugging primarily or helping folks out on stream. You're almost 2,900 on the rogue, though. Goal is 3K and then whatever. Damn, girl! I didn't even get to that last season. I've done 2 dungeons this season. I'm rating a bit, but I've done 2 dungeons and I've been all over the place. So, Bangos, you did the 3K grind last season. You're kind of chilling this season. You might end up there accidentally. Yeah, you might because your chill is not chill, friend. But yeah, I've joined Banquos's raiding community, so that helps because I always preferred raiding to dungeons and stuff. And I have been enjoying Mythics this expansion a lot more, mostly because I got dragged into it by people. But yeah, it's been really nice raiding, but I do kind of feel like I need to be doing a bunch of Mythics to like keep up in raiding, which I mean, to be fair, that's not weird or bad. It's just a thing. And Brennan, it's the social aspect for you too. And Brenna, you were 3,200 on your rogue and 3,150 on your paladin last season. You burned out super hard. I believe that. Yeah, like, and I didn't get anywhere near that. Well, okay, I guess I kind of did. Did I get to 2,500? I don't remember which is whatever. I got Keystone Master and I got all of the teleports, and that was my goal. So I got Keystone Master, I got the teleports, I got my legendary axe and like crafted it, and then I was like, that's enough. I'll come back for season 4. so that's, I needed a break for that. But yeah, Diver, you just unlocked a memory. There was a time you put a lot of time into the Lord of the Rings Online. I don't even know. So time doesn't function in my brain. So I don't know how long I was playing it. Probably at least a year. A friend that I met in WoW, what's the dungeon called? I met her in a dungeon. Whatever, it was a whole thing. Regardless, I'm always like, pugs are fine. Sometimes you meet the greatest people. Even though lots of people are like, other people. But like, Diver, you played a bard and you love doing damage playing music. I mean, it gives me so much joy when I'm playing my bard in Baldur's Gate that every time I cast a spell, she does a fucking power chord. So I get that. I don't even remember what I played. Like, I have almost no memories of it, but I do, and I don't know if that would have been conjured from my brain if you hadn't mentioned it. But I did play Lotro for a while, and yeah. But yeah, anyway, that friend from the WoW dungeon, she dragged me into Lord of the Rings Online for a while, and I didn't hate it. I just didn't stick with it. So, which is like the same thing with Guild Wars. Well, Guild Wars 2, I guess. I enjoyed it, played it up to max level, basically as a single player game, got bored and left, right? Like, it just is what it is. Macro pugs are wild rabid animals and sometimes cool and chill people. There's no in between. I mean, I do think that there is in between, because the other in between is that just nobody says anything to anyone. And I maintain that one of the best ways to make pugs better, for you personally, is to just say something. Like, obviously don't be a dick, but just like, hi, let's do this, or just, hey, like, whatever, literally anything that makes that little switch flip in people's brains that, this is another person, not a bunch of NPCs, that helps. It does help. It doesn't always fix it. There's always still assholes here and there, but it helps. And so, like, I don't even always do that, but, like, I try to, so... Or even if just something funny happens, just, like, laugh about it or whatever. Regardless, I feel like a big part of the problem with pugs is just people deciding that these other people aren't people. Diver Bard could be a DPS in Lotro, which is so fun. Yeah, and as it should be. As it should be. So yeah. But yeah, I remember hating that there weren't mounts, but that's it. And also I'm also trying to decide if I'm remembering that wrong, because I might be. Brennan, you wish you could get into other MMOs, but until WoW totally peters out, you're not sure you'll ever be able to. Honestly, same. I don't even fully know what it is, aside from, honestly, it might just be nostalgia, playing it for 12 years, so I'm used to it, and people. Like, I don't really know specifically what it is that always pulls me back to WoW, because, like, it's not like I'm a fangirl for the company. In fact, the opposite. A lot of the stories, like, at least the expansion stories, are kind of ass, so, like, it's not that. Like, this one's good, but, you know, some of them have sucked. Macri, you said, hi, how's everyone doing? And the response last night was, what are you, faggot? Wow, okay, fair enough. Macro, which, I mean, I guess, but he didn't have to say it like that. That's fair. Also, sometimes I'm on the fence of whether or not I'm allowed to say that one out loud, but, so if I'm not, sorry. Yeah, so again, not a bulletproof strategy, but it does often help. Elaine has arrived to spoil you, baby girl. Diver, you don't remember either. It's been so long as far as the mounts. Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry. Brenna, you've tried Guild Wars 2, Ion, Terra, Wildstar for a second. So I never... The thing that sucks about Wildstar is that they shut it down entirely, because I never got into it. Their whole fucking philosophy was, we want it to be hardcore again. Like, no wonder you fucking failed. Because... Sorry. But basically, there was a ton of great shit in Wildstar, but they ruined it by being, we're a bunch of hardcore gamer bros, and if you're not invited. Fuck you guys. But yeah, the thing that really excited me about it was the player housing, and I never got to the level where I got to play with it before they shut it down, and I'm very sad that I didn't get to play around with it, because apparently it was actually pretty good. And the one thing that I want WoW to do is give me a goddamn house! I played, like, a bunch of different, much shittier MMOs back in the day that gave me a cool house. Give me a house, WoW! Debbie, you don't even care about dinosaurs, but you did play 600 hours of Ark Survival Evolved too, but you think that's more because it's a tame, fun pets game. Yeah, no, that's fair. I've never played it, but I've heard so much about it, and yeah, I don't know. Elaine, your baby girls are wolfing down their dinners right now. Thank you for sharing all your pictures of your baby girls. I'm so excited because you have babies. Anyway. Okay, Chungo, thank you very much for the snack. Again, I need to change it to treat time. Because a jelly bean is not a snack, it is in fact a treat. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Anyway. I don't even know if she was just startled by my bullshit, or if the way I was looking at her tipped her off. I did try Terra, didn't hate it, but that is one of the ones that has the, like, horny children kind of thing going on. Not a fan. Don't eat my ring. I'm sorry. Tormenting her is so fun. You love that the cat bed is an Amazon box. It did used to just be a blanket on the desk. So this is, ow! You twerp? 2.7 hours of Terra logged looking at your Steam library at MMOs. Good work, Diver, I guess? Such a princess! And she has to do her fucking lap every time she gets a treat. Why are you like this? So yeah, Brenda, the microphone bonking is her thing. She walks over, headbutts the mic, and then goes back so that everyone can see her bum. Diver, you love playing a tiny character, or sorry, Brenna, to Diver, you love playing a tiny character with a massive weapon that has like 5 times their size in Terra. That's fair, and I think that's part of what the appeal was for me, because that is in fact the appeal of playing a Fury Warrior for me. So, okay, so yeah, Terra, last played December 1st, 2017, playtime 19.8 hours. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. It just didn't pull me in. I think so. The MMOs that I have played, like a reasonable amount of, I guess. I did play kind of sort of a reasonable amount of Guild Wars 2, but again, I kind of played it as a single player game because I didn't know anyone else that was playing it at the time. And obviously RuneScape, because RuneScape happened before WoW. That was, well, for me at least, and that was what made me like click into the fact that I like social gaming. RuneScape forever, yay! Except not, because it still exists and I don't want to play it anymore. We tried when I first started streaming and I was like, oh, no. And then, so yeah, there was the stint in Lotro, and for a while I actually really liked Neverwinter. The problem with Neverwinter was that it was super cash grabby, pay to win, which sucked because I want nothing more than to be a pretty tiefling riding around Faerun, okay? That's all I want. That's all I want in life. Diver Endless Online was your little unknown MMO that was your entry. Cool. I don't remember the name of the one I played with my first boyfriend, like way back in the day. What else did I do? What else did I play? I don't remember. I've definitely played others. I lasted, well, here, let's check. What was the one that, what was thank you for the follow. What was it called? Lost Ark, yeah. Yeah. My friend got super into Lost Ark for like 2 months, and I played it for 2.5 hours. So that one doesn't really count. Good evening, Mark. Brown, your boyfriend is following you. Nice. Called out immediately. Thank you, though. Look at this. This absolutely pitiful child. She didn't get as much follow-up affection after her treat as she wanted. Poor baby. Pity her. She is suffering. I didn't actually mean to bonk her in the face with my glasses. I feel a little bad about that one. Clearly I need to cut her claws since she's getting stuck in the blanket. Yeah. And yeah, also the box is broken. For an explanation of why, please go to my clips and find Lily fulfills the prophecy. You don't have to, but if you want it, there's that. Oh, this baby. Just one treat. Well, she's technically gotten 2, but the limit is 3 per stream. Oh, baby. But yeah, now as soon as I start streaming and doing the streaming voice, which is not actually like a voice, I just project more than I do when I'm normally talking. She just immediately shows up because she's like, oh, treats? Friends? You're streaming! That means treats for me! What are you doing? What you doing? Hi. I do want to get a cam that's just the Lily cam, but I don't know where to put it. Because, like, she's visible on the normal one, and it's fine. But, like, something closer would be nice. I just, like, there's nowhere to put it. Maybe on a shelf now that I have the shelves, but those are a relatively new addition. So, yeah, wow. She's a baby. She's a huge baby. Biggest suck ever. Although, at the end of the month, she's gonna turn 7 years old. Fat little baby. Yeah. Thank you for the bonk, baby. We appreciate your bonks. Elaine, last night Sassy was sitting on your desk and you were petting her and she fell asleep standing up the way kittens do, so you stopped petting her so you didn't accidentally knock her over. 5 minutes later she woke up and immediately meeped at you for stopping the pets. Aw, baby girl. Your children, Elaine, are not helping my kitten fever, but also it is a delight to see them and I appreciate their antics and they're very cute. Diver says, Archie just turned 7. Aw, babies. Not quite old. Not young, but not quite old either. What's she doing? Yeah, Pabu is 6. Pabu is 6. You're so aggressive today. I mean, well, I don't know. Maybe that's not new. I guess the other MMO I have played for a sort of decent amount of time is Destiny, but that only when I'm doing it with friends. So yeah. Boop, 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 boop. I showed you my belly, but I didn't want you to touch it. What are you doing? What are you doing, baby? I guess I did say I was gonna loop back to vacation stuff, but also the other explanation for why the box is broken is just this. Just this. Just that. Constantly. But yeah, it was really busy, and next time I take a vacation, it's gonna have to be a do absolutely fucking nothing kind of vacation, because, yeah, last year we did kind of the same thing, except we also threw a convention in last year, too, so just non-stop visiting people, costume logistics, all sorts of stuff. It was a lot. And then, yeah, we saw two people or groups of people every single time we went out this past week. I got to see my aunt and uncle and cousins I haven't seen in 5 years, so that was wonderful. Lots of friends, lots of family, all that jazz, and it was great. And yeah. Also exhausting, and now I need a vacation from my vacation, which is why I honestly was considering not streaming today, and I was like, I'm not gonna feel bad about it, I'm tired. And then Elaine, you asked me if I was gonna stream tonight, and I just sat there and was like, okay, let me think about it for a second before I answer that. And then I was like, you know what, I actually kind of feel like it, let's do it. So here we are. And yes, I did jokingly suggest that people just go look up the Lily Fulfills the Prophecy one, but was that this one? Yes it is, because I renamed it after the fact. So there you go. Makes everyone's life a little easier. But yeah, extremely dramatic little shit right here is what she is. But also, so before one of said hangouts, we got into Toronto a little early, took the subway, blah, 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 got there earlier than we expected to, and ended up in this, little extremely hippy-dippy, like, crystal hippie cafe thing, and I did spend, like, 20 minutes, staring at their jewelry with hope in my eyes. They had a bunch of honeycomb stuff, but only one set of earrings that actually had a bee on it, and they looked super heavy and were kind of pricey. But I did get myself a pretty little ring, which you can't see because I turned autofocus off because it does weird shit. But yeah, I just missed having rings, and so I got myself a pretty little garnet ring. Diver, you love Toronto and you usually do not love cities. I think I agree. But I was also staying with my boyfriend's parents, and they're about an hour outside the city itself, like via GO train. So obviously, like, that's not directly in Toronto. But yeah, like, I haven't like spent the night in Toronto before. At some point I'll probably end up getting like a hotel room there for the night, blah blah blah, do some shit in the city, I don't know. But like, I think I do like it more than most big cities. But it's definitely still hot and overwhelming and full of people. uh but yeah, like, that's not necessarily a deal breaker. I do like it. There's a lot to like about it. We actually went up to, not up, but up to the CN Tower this year. Which, like, it's fun to look at. I think I would enjoy going up it, but I keep not doing that because I don't want to pay for it. Because, like, I've been to the top of a mountain before. Whatever. You can't charge me money to not do better than being on top of an Alp. Neglected. Never been loved in her whole life. But no, I'm sure it would be spectacular. I'm just a cheapskate. And also I don't want to go when there's 4 billion tourists, which there were, in fact, 4 billion tourists. And it will probably be significantly worse for the rest of summer because, like, at this point, technically school is still in. So, like, it definitely gets worse. But yeah, like, last year we went down to the distillery district, which was really cool and fun. There's a ton of good food. We went to Stormcrow Manor, which is, like, an incredibly nerdy... Like, the whole point is that it's, like, a nerd bar and restaurant, and it's also... in the village, and by that I mean the gay one, which is nice, because, like, I will say, like, obviously, the bigger the city is, the more people there are, the more progressive things are. That's just how it works. And that's not to say that where I live isn't, like, because I live in a city too, and it's not, like, bad, but there are so many more pride flags flying in Toronto than there are here, and it's just nice. It's just really nice to see it. Like, to walk out of a subway station, turn the corner, and be like, oh my god, trans flag! Right? Like, I don't know, it's just nice. I just like it. And so, we didn't go to the village last year, but we did this year, and it was nice, and I'm glad that we did. And had a drink called Cusco's Llama Potion. It was good. So, Diver, you went there at a good time. When did you go? What was your reason? Was it just tourism? Were you meeting people? What was the deal? Obviously, if these questions are invasive, you may ignore them. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed my trip. But it was exhausting, and I do feel like I need a vacation from my vacation, and I desperately want to go lay on a beach somewhere next time I go on vacation. Or at least next to a pool. It doesn't have to be a beach. This cat, every time I look at the monitor, she just gets, like, more depressed looking. Like, look at this. It's like, it's misery, but also annoyance. Like, the most bitch-resting bitch face over here. Diver, just for funsies, you always prioritize game bars, and Toronto has some great ones. Stormcrow being one of them, I totally agree. And yeah, obviously, like, there's just a ton of stuff in Toronto that I haven't got to experience yet. And boyfriend being from the area definitely means that he's a lot more nonchalant about all of the Toronto stuff. So, like, we don't do as much touristy stuff because he's like, whatever, it's just Toronto. But, like, I mean, which isn't to say that he would shut me down if I wanted to. It's just that we were so busy that, like, it just didn't happen. But, like, we did go down to the beaches with a couple friends, went to a really nice bar, did the stuff in the village, all that. It was a good time. It was a good time. And yeah, like I said, I got to see my aunt and uncle and cousins that I haven't seen in a super long time since they moved out there. And that was really nice. So it was a good trip. It was a good time. The planes didn't get super fucky this year. Like, last year they delayed us by like 6 hours and we didn't get home until midnight, so that was shit, but a lot better this year. That was weird, sorry. And extremely graceful, I'm sure. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. What are we doing? Talk at me. Give me something to riff on for the next 20 minutes. All we need is like one line of text. Hi, baby. I mean, I can also just pet the cat. That is also an option. Diver, you went to your first trampoline park in Toronto. You got so tired so fast. Oh my god, I believe it. Yeah, I think that would kill me. And like I would probably actually break something. or not break something, but like, again, shitty connective tissue. So like, I can't imagine that going well, but also it would be so much fun while it lasted. I do love a trampoline. Didn't get to own one as a kid, so I was always, every time I went to a friend's place and they had a trampoline, I was like, let's go on the trampoline! And they were like, I don't want to, I'm bored, I just own that, it's there all the time, I don't care, and I was like, I want to go on the trampoline! So, yeah. I'm normal. What? Oh. Complete non sequitur. Out of nowhere. Topic change. The Oilers are going to the Stanley Cup games, the finals. Yay, a Canadian team, even if it's my third choice for Canadian teams to cheer for. Diver, same, and your partner was just pure joy the whole time you were there, which was amazing. Aw, that's lovely, Diver. That's really nice. I'm glad you got that. Thank you for headbutting my microphone over 6 inches and then yawning directly into it. I don't know where the boy is. Like, normally when I'm playing games, I don't really want the boy around because he's just a menace. But tonight might be nice to have the boy, but I think he's passed out in the cat condo. I don't know if there's anything else to point out about said vacation. I don't think so. It was a good time though, and I'm back now, so I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how often I'm gonna keep doing Monday night streams, and it's not because there's anything wrong with it. I feel like a lot of the time I'm just not up for it on Monday evenings, and like I wanna be, and I keep telling myself I'm gonna be, and then I don't do it. So like, maybe it'll just be a whatever I feel like it thing these days. I don't know. Like, the thing is, if anything, I would rather stream more often rather than less, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's just not really clicking for the most part, so we'll see how it goes. At the very least, I do tend to want to change things at least a little bit with the schedule over summer. Like, I'm thinking, and this might not happen, don't hold me to this, but I'm thinking about maybe starting my Tuesday streams. I'm sorry, there's like Lily Fur weirdly embedded into this. Like, how did you do that? Words are hard. I want to go swimming. So I'm thinking about maybe delaying my stream start for an hour on Tuesdays, but then I would run longer if I do that. So, Elaine, can we finish the book on a different day? Then that seems fair, because yeah, like I do want to keep reading the book. I do. I promise. So yeah, like we could make that a different day thing. And like that's why I don't want to cut it, is because there are just too many things that I want to do on stream, and like we've got Thursdays set aside for multiplayer stuff right now, and then there's only 2 other days, and I want to play whatever I'm hyped about at the time. And so yeah, there's just too many things that I want to do on stream and not enough time to actually do it on stream. But then every time it rolls around to Monday, I'm just like, eh. And then yeah, and then some days you're like, are you streaming? I'm like, sure. So I don't know. I'm not saying that it'll never happen again. I'm just saying I think I might want to take the expectation off of my head. But then I don't know where that leaves us. So yeah. Did I stop petting you? Are you gonna die of neglect? Yeah. So neglected. So neglected. I do think, did we want to read for the rest of the stream then? Because like I'm gonna be live for about another hour. And obviously it's not difficult to find things to talk about. It really isn't. But I don't hate the idea of trying to get a chapter in. These chapters are long as fuck. But you know, I can always choose a strategic spot to pause. But like reading, or the idea of reading, is part of why I was open to streaming tonight, because I finished 2 books this past week. Started one of them on the plane there, and one of them on the plane back. And then so yeah, I got back on Saturday evening and finished that book this morning. So like, I have a problem where I won't read anything for 6 months, and then I'll just destroy a book in 2 days. And then I'm like emotionally wrecked from whatever the book is about, and like having an existential crisis because I don't know what to do with myself now that this story is over, kind of thing. It's a problem, and it's worse when it's a series, because then I'll read all of them at once, and I won't remember what happened in which book when I'm trying to talk about it to other people. Elaine, your girls at the after dinner zoomies. Zoom zoom. Diver, you're on a reading kick and you're loving it. Fuck yeah, let's go. Fist bump. That wasn't a punch, that was a fist bump, I promise. Yeah, I don't know. I love reading. I really do. It's just, yeah. Have I ever read any Madeline Miller? I don't think so. But now I feel compelled to look her up. Because sometimes I read stuff in high school and didn't remember who the author was. Oh, Song of Achilles, yeah. So Song of Achilles has been on my to-read list for literally 5 years. And I'm gonna go check right now, because the issue with it is that it was on, like, when I put it on my list, I think it had been on, like, a recommended reading list that year. And ever since, every single time I look at it in my library app, there's like 28 people waiting for it. And so like, I should just put my name on the fucking list and it will show up eventually, but like, it's bad. It's bad. So yeah. So let me see. Circe is also on my list, actually. I love Greek shit. It's great. Yeah, 4 copies in use, 63 people waiting, 16 people waiting per copy. So that's why I haven't read Song of Achilles yet. Because 5 years of that. So Diary of Circe and Song of Achilles from the library recently, and they were both magically available. Yeah, and so like, if I went in person and tried to get the physical copies, it might be available. I don't know. But I just don't get my ass down to the library that often. And like, I'm not gonna say I prefer reading digitally, because I don't, and I do enjoy. Also, hi Jester, I'm just on a tangent. I enjoy reading physical books a lot, but it is less convenient. It really is. I have to use both hands, and literally the worst part for me about reading physical books is that they're not backlit, and so I'll be reading in the evening and the sun goes down and I have like a lamp on and I have to like do this and then do this and then do this and then do this based on which side of the book I'm reading, so that there's light on the fucking words. Are there solutions to this? Yes. Do I use them? Apparently not. Physical books like classic Game Boy. I don't know about quite that. But yeah, I guess my point ultimately is that I have literally zero issue with reading digitally, and it tends to be easier and more accessible for me, so I do that. The other one that I read on the way there / while I was there a bit was Dark Matter, Blake Crouch. And I was recently reminded because Apple TV is making an adaptation of it. But that one has also been on my list for several years. I it's the same situation with the library. There's always a bazillion people waiting for it. But what I didn't realize was that apparently at some point I bought the Kindle edition, and I don't know when. I must have gotten fed up with the library line at some point and bought it, or it was on sale or something. And I didn't, I've been putting off reading it because it was always out at the library, and I didn't realize I fucking owned it. So I ended up reading my Kindle edition on the plane and on the way there, and I don't think I was prepared for that book. It's very good. It's very good. Very well written. It did kind of ruin me a little bit. like not full on existential crisis levels, but like not far off. So what does Illidan have to do with it, Chester? But yeah, I've heard nothing but praise about Song of Achilles and Circe, and I do want to read them. It's just a matter of when that happens. But next time Boyfriend goes to the library, I should see if he can, if they're there physically. Oh, yes, you are not. Yeah, no, okay, I get it. I should have gotten that immediately. I didn't, but I should have. But yeah, so don't be aware that Dark Matter is a bit of a psychological thriller, which I didn't really look into beforehand. And also it will break your brain a little bit. Still good. Have no idea how they're going to go about the adaptation of it. And like, I think I might want to watch it just because I'm like, how did you do this? Like, how are you planning on telling this story? I will say that it is the first book I've read in a long time with a male POV character, and I don't know if I loved it. It's not the end of the world, but like, there was a point where it was like, yes, a woman has died to further this man's plot, huzzah. Which, like, again, it made sense in the well, not again, I say again because I've ranted about this to some of my friends. And like it makes sense in the context of the book. It fits, it does a very good job of raising the stakes. It's just like, and if it were just this book, it would be fine. But you know what? Murdering a woman to raise the stakes is pretty fucking standard practice in storytelling, and I hate it. End of. That's the whole complaint. Book Club channel didn't die on the server. I just didn't talk about Dark Matter in it, because most of the time we're talking about romance novels and stuff. I don't know what that was. Sorry, I got distracted. I got distracted by Discord. Why did I look at this? I don't think that's exactly what I would call it, Jester, but like, it's the fridging the woman trope. That was like half Phenomena, half classic Mario theme. I don't know. I don't know how we ended up with such an unholy combination coming out of my mouth, but it did. But yeah, either way, great story. Certainly wouldn't say that, like I'd still recommend it if you're up for the mindfuck of it. But it is a mindfuck, and they did shoot a lady for no good reason. DJ Reswick. Yeah, something like that. Speaking of which, I keep meaning to make an emote that's Alex with the headphones that he sits on. That's DJ Alex. I haven't, but I want to. It's literally on the list somewhere. The list of things that I may or may not ever get to. Sorry, I don't. I have seen some of the new ladies, Jester. I have not been the one personally inviting them, and I have been away on vacation, and I haven't been paying a lot of attention, and that's on me, but that's where I'm at, so, but yes. And yeah, there's been a couple new people lately, but yeah, I also haven't been playing a ton of WoW, so that's part of it too. Anyway, now that I've blathered about books, how are we still not even halfway through this book? Like, how? This book is heavy in a good way. but yeah, whatever. Point is reading good. Yeah, honestly, Jester, I'm kind of surprised you haven't played WoW since the car accident, because, like, you had some recovery time, but I mean, I guess that doesn't mean you want to play WoW in that recovery time. But I mean, I also, yeah, I haven't played that much since season 4 started, but I wasn't playing at all before season 4 started, so yeah. So we are officially on part 3 of the book. We haven't gotten to space law yet, but we will, so be prepared. New season, all your gear sucks, and yeah, pugs suck. Well, yeah, but it's the WoW gear treadmill, man. I don't know what to tell you. We all been doing this for a decade at least. Okay, well, not all of us, because yeah. But yeah, so I don't really remember where we were at last time. But the thing is, this isn't a narrative; it's a nonfiction book, so it's fine. For anyone who hasn't been here for the rest of me reading this, again, like you've sorry, I hit the mic. You've missed stuff, but not anything that will be like narratively important. It is called A City on Mars. Can we settle space? Should we settle space? And have we really thought this through? And the whole thing is that it is the guy that makes Saturday morning breakfast cartoons or whatever, breakfast cereal webcomic, and his wife doing a bunch of research and then comedically presenting all of this and basically just saying that, like, we shouldn't actually colonize space before the wrong way. We shouldn't do it quickly just for the sake of it, basically. And just explaining all of the challenges and why we should fucking think this through, at the very least. So part 3 is Pocket Edens, how to create a human terrarium that isn't all that terrible. So that should give you a hint as to what the tone of this book is. And again, there is a section on space law, but we're not there yet. That part will probably not be that exciting, but also maybe they'll make a bunch of jokes to make it more exciting. I don't know. And we have 40 minutes-ish left, so we can probably get through one chapter. That is how this tends to go. Yes, I guess I've decided that I'm doing this now. So, yeah, anyway. I'm just gonna jump right in, because that transition period is kind of awkward every single time, because transitioning from my words and blathering to somebody else's words and less blathering. Or rambling, less rambling. I'm still blathering. So, yeah, I'm sorry. There's a cat hair in my nose. I'm gonna lose my mind. Anyway. This is your fault! Anyway, this is also a new part, so there's a bit of a recap here if you've missed things. So far, we've dealt with a lot of stuff space does that is weird. Gravity, radiation, crazy temperature swings, and so on. The basic solution to all of these problems is to avoid them if you can. What that means specifically can vary, but will always be some sort of bubble world that has to perform all the functions of Earth's biosphere only in miniature. Ecosystem design is another one of those weird space settlement problems that gets relegated to the margins while being a major practical barrier to off-world survival. By the way, this is kind of like the intro to the part. It's in a different font. It's a little excerpt, basically. But yeah. Much like human reproduction in space, ecosystem design is a wickedly complex scientific problem that is only lightly funded, despite being fundamental to any space settlement project. Perhaps because it involves uncool stuff like growing mangoes and recycling poop. Or maybe because it'd be really expensive without any clear geopolitical clout for whomever builds it. Just speaking for ourselves, though, if we were sent to a Mars base, we would like to not die. So as our last stop before we get into the laws governing space, we consider some more homely matters: food, waste, and how to garden. Having accomplished that, we just need to shield it all from instant death in space. So that's kind of the intro to this part. So we're at chapter 9, outputs and inputs, poop, food, and closing the loop, which, yep. I already know what they mean by that. You probably do too, but if you don't, you will soon. Space settlers will have to receive shipments from Earth for a long time, but at least for basic things like food and water, they'll need to strive for as much independence as possible. Potato salad starts to get expensive when it has to be boosted out of Earth's gravity well, flown across the void, and then gently deposited outside of a Martian airlock. Also, growing local produce means a higher chance of not dying if a shipment doesn't make it or arrives contaminated. However, becoming self-sustaining in space means managing waste with an unearthly level of sophistication, something human science is still learning about and which we'll explore at the end of this chapter. But before we get to that, we present a brief tour of how eating and excreting are actually done in space, so you know the two ends of the loop you're trying to close. Outputs, the inevitable space toilet discussion. There have been a lot of space toilets. But outside of launch and landing, there have been two major ways to go number 1 and 2. In the heroic early days of space travel, the solution was an elongated plastic baggie with adhesive and a little finger-shaped divot. The adhesive is there for obvious reasons, but why the finger-shaped divot? To nudge waste in the right direction. Nobody liked this. In fact, during Gemini 7, Commander Frank Borman, who had a reputation for being, shall we say, anal retentive, decided he would attempt to not poop for the entire 2-week orbit. This quest was somewhat facilitated by NASA's use of what we're calling low-residue foods, but 14 days is a lot of time to accumulate residue. By day 9, Borman had to face the inevitable. He turned to his lone crewman, Jim Lovell, and said, "Jim, I think this is it." Lovell, known for his calm demeanor and sense of humor, joked back, "Frank, you have only 5 more days left to go here." Frank did not make it 5 days. Incidentally, this is how big a Gemini was. "Just 5 more days. Note lack of a curtain. 2.55 cubic meters of habitable volume. For comparison, the Tesla Model 3 has an interior volume of 3.2 cubic meters." And so, okay, God, Jesus, the light. Why is the light there? There. Either way, that's the Gemini and that's the poo bag. As a note, again, for anyone who has missed my previous streams on this, and it has been a while since we did one, I can't pronounce Russian names to save my fucking life, and that will come up in this. Cosmonauts! Anyway. By the early space station days, this method had been replaced, essentially, by a very specialized 2-headed vacuum cleaner. One head for liquid waste, which is fairly easy to deal with, one head for solid waste, which must be netted, bagged, and later packed down. And don't visualize some sleek metal and plastic disposal unit. And as ISS Commander Peggy Whitson noted in an interview, after it starts getting full, you have to put a rubber glove on and pack it down. On the plus side, partial gravity will restore the traditional relationship of humanity to waste, in which once it leaves the body, it does not fly. That said, if there is any takeaway from space toilets of old, it's that they have always been complex and finicky. NASA's gigantic Human Integration Design Handbook includes detailed analysis for things like the maximum bowel movement mass and frequency, and detailed specifications about how astronauts must be able to poop and pee at the same time, and yet, over the years, astronauts have felt compelled to create a variety of neologisms, whatever words, to describe the phenomenon of airborne feces, floaters, escapees, and worst of all, brown trout. In the original Space Shuttle waste system, when the poop was suctioned down, a device one astronaut called the Slinger thwacked it against a cold surface, effectively freeze-drying it. But containment was flawed, allowing tiny freeze-dried poop particles to enter the cabin. Aboard today's ISS, the tradition lives on in a different form. Tim Peake reported an astronaut who accidentally lost a decent-sized portion of metabolic waste, only for it to turn up 2 weeks later in a small gap near the return air filter. Ah! Jesus Christ. As recently as SpaceX's 2021 Inspiration 4 mission, which sent 4 intrepid private astronauts on an orbital voyage in especially cool spacesuits, one major problem was the busted toilet. As of this writing, details are scarce, but apparently something went wrong with the suction system, leading to the delightful USA Today headline, "Elon Musk says Inspiration 4 crew had challenges with toilet, vows bathroom upgrades." Yes, Lily, we haven't forgot that you exist. While space settlement sanitation will be easier, it will also present a new challenge. Historically, poop is something astronauts just dispose of, hence the tempting yet forbidden lunar poo bags. This won't work on a space settlement. Remember, you're trying to create Eden, and the truth is that human waste is substantially closer to garden perfection than the dead soil of other worlds. But so far, no solid waste has been recycled in space. The closest equivalent is the recycled urine and moisture on the ISS, which is turned into potable water. Or, as the Americans call it, yesterday's coffee. Given the utility of waste off-world, a likely setup will involve some sort of composting system for human outputs. This is well understood technology on Earth, but rarely employed in places with low gravity and a sealed atmosphere. Sigh. She sighs. Okay, so now we have switched to inputs. Space food. Bad, but not as bad as it used to be. Tang sucks. Quote from Buzz Aldrin, second man on the moon. I feel like I remember this conversation about Buzz fucking hating Tang. Food in space is subject to a lot of constraints. It has to be nutritious. It has to come in a convenient, easy to prep container that doesn't leach chemicals into the food. It has to be shelf stable for as long as possible. It has to produce no crumbs or other little food bits that would find their way into the ship's atmosphere or equipment. And ideally, it should do all of that while being tasty and varied in both flavor and texture. Complicating matters, you may not have a kitchen. Not a real one, anyway. Mir and Skylab both had refrigerators, which allowed for delicacies like filet mignon, ice cream, and jello, but refrigerators take up a lot of space and energy. The ISS only got one in 2020, though according to rumor, some of the scientific cooling fridges have been used for drinks. Yeah, that tracks. However, most food is either room temperature or hot, but never piping hot, and certainly not freshly fried or roasted, activities that might off-gas undesirable chemicals into the sealed atmosphere. Heating is only done via hot water injection or in a convection oven that can only get to about 75 degrees Celsius. Space settlements will almost certainly have more Earth-like kitchens, but they won't be quite identical. If you have a stove at home, very likely it comes with a ventilation hood. In space settlements, the atmosphere will have to be recycled. The desire of humans to have cooking procedures like those from Earth will have to be balanced against the costs of scrubbing the atmosphere. The environment of space also reportedly makes food taste less flavorful. This may be a result of the fluid shift creating sinus pressure similar to a cold, or it may be that in zero gravity smells don't waft up into your nose, or it may be something about the artificial atmosphere. And of course, I always jump to the footnotes as soon as they make one, so jumping to the footnote of that particular thing about the artificial atmosphere. One experiment aboard Salyut 6, which went by the name of TASTE, tried to better understand this phenomenon by applying an electric current to the cosmonauts' taste nerves. We found one story about Sidney A. Schwartz, a scientist at Grumman Aircraft, who combined flour, cornstarch, powdered milk, banana flakes, and hominy grits, then baked them in a hydraulic press at 400 degrees Fahrenheit under 3,000 pound pressure. That's about 200 Celsius and about 1,360 kilograms. The resulting product was a grainy brown slab as tough as tempered masonite that could be cut on a bandsaw without splintering or drilled for bolts and screws. And, said Schwartz, after being pulverized with a tiny grinder and soaked for a few hours in water, it becomes edible and tastes like breakfast. Okay. I mean, just sure. Yay, breakfast, I guess. That is quite something. Anyway. Whatever the reason, astronauts often lust for piquant condiments such as salt, pepper, Tabasco, and mayonnaise. And, of course, taco sauce. Salty, zesty taco sauce is so beloved by astronauts that for about a week in 1991, it became the first form of currency specific to outer space. Breakfast. Yes, Elaine. Excellent. She's just fucking sulking. My God, Lily. Okay. But anyway, taco sauce is currency. On shuttle flight STS-40, taco sauce went on everything. Pilot Sid Gutierrez recalled, "Although I didn't do it myself, I observed crewmates putting taco sauce on Rice Krispies in the morning." Around day 8, STS-40's commander Brian O'Connor realized that the crew's rate of taco sauce consumption would soon outstrip the taco sauce supply. According to Gutierrez, the commander secured all the remaining taco sauce and divided it equally among the crew members. Thereafter, taco sauce became the medium of exchange. For example, if it was your turn to clean the latrine, you could pay someone a taco sauce or two to do it for you. However, Bad Rice Krispies' picante sounds is an improvement over the old days. The very first space foods were pastes inside tubes, a style of meal originally designed for on-the-go jet pilots. During the 1960s, American space food became weirdly abstract. A variety of food cubes were produced, often encased in an oily, gelatinous substance, including cheese cubes, toasted bread cubes, and the intimidatingly non-specific red cubes. Partially, this was just engineering run amok, but there was some logic to it. If you want to efficiently pack a lot of food in a form that will not produce crumbs, bite-sized cubes with an outer coating makes sense. The downside was that nobody liked them. According to an account by food scientist Dr. Paul Lachance, astronaut Wally Schirra suggested that they fly with only the bite-sized food. The food scientist realized this wouldn't be a great idea and suggested the astronaut and some buddies try living off of them for a few days. And they all gave it up because it was coating the throat and they got tired of biting these hard chips. I mean, sure. Much of early space food was freeze-dried or dehydrated. Remember astronaut ice cream, everybody? In the 90s, getting excited? Anyway, removing water was more valuable back then because the first human spacecraft got power from fuel cells, which generated pure water as a byproduct. Simply use some power, open a baggie of mashed potato flakes, and indulge. As the space station era began, things got a little nicer. The menus on the Russian side sound positively fancy, with Salyut 1 having sausage, chocolate, coffee, cheese, cookies, meat, and fish. The Space Shuttle, which was the locus of U.S. space activity from the early 80s until the ISS went up, also had fuel cells to provide water and only orbited for about 2 weeks at a time. So stocking food was a bit easier, with many of the early rations just being military MREs, meals ready to eat. Still, footnote about MREs. Cereal topped with bananas. I rather like it. Richard Foss. Food in the Air and Space. The Surprising History of Food and Drink in the Skies. New York. Okay, so that's just a citation. Anyway, these are not always fine dining, we are informed, and have a variety of joke nicknames such as meal rarely edible, and due to their frequently low fiber content, meals requiring enemas. Yeah, that sounds like something that people who have to eat MREs a lot would come up with. Yeah, Anyway. Still, there were major developments at the time, including the very first space tortillas. The Noble Tortilla first went to orbit in 1985 when mission specialist Mary Cleave and payload specialist Rodolfo Vela, the first Mexican astronaut, brought fresh ones. Tortillas are ideal space bread because they pack well, create no crumbs, and are really just edible plates. Shelf-stable tortillas have remained the astronaut's bread of choice ever since. Thank you, first Mexican astronaut, for opening the eyes of all of the white astronauts. Okay. On the Russian side, a more technical approach has been taken. Cosmonauts eat tiny squares of bread, specially engineered to be low crumb. Because of their size, they are jokingly referred to as Barbie bread. Modern space cuisine is mostly dehydrated food, freeze-dried fruit, shelf-stable intermediate moisture foods like dried fruit and M&Ms, and food that has been thermostabilized or irradiated to keep it from rotting. Okay? Anyway. Why must I do this? I know why. It's 'cause I'm in just chatting. Boop. Reading through the literature on space food and the descriptions by astronauts in memoirs, the impression one gets is that the food is decidedly okay. Basically, the sort of thing you'd eat if you were living in a fallout bunker stocked by someone with a degree in food science. One sometimes comes across the gustatory freaks who actually enjoy space food, like Charlie Duke, who couldn't get enough of the ambrosia packed for him. Dr. Mike Massimo, despite growing up in an Italian-American family, loved thermostabilized spaghetti and meatball packets. However, love for space food is rare, and many astronauts lose weight during their missions. And one of Earth's most beloved drinks, wine, beer, and liquor. There has been at least one tipple on another world. It happened in 1969, nice, when Buzz Aldrin took communion in the Eagle Lander. That's one small sip for man, one giant leap for mankind. Boo! I say at this book, boo! That's such a bad pun. Oh, sorry. There's a footnote on talking about the space ambrosia that Charlie Duke likes. So the Zach and Kelly Weinersmith are the writers here. So Zach, who grew up in the American South, was familiar with this stuff. Basically, imagine a variety of canned fruits in syrup, plus bits of sweet gelatin and tiny marshmallows, all combined with more sugar and essentially any kind of fat. Mayo, whipped cream, sour cream, whatever. No doubt even tastier in an irradiated, shelf-stable packet. And Armenian cognac was reportedly the drink of choice among cosmonauts. That's interesting. NASA officially prohibits alcohol on the ISS, but booze has gone to space many times. Soviet/Russian space stations were substantially more permissive in a way that occasionally caused culture shock. Dr. Jerry Lininger was surprised to find bottles of cognac and whiskey hidden in the gloves of the spacesuit on Mir. Non-Russian/non-American flyers have perhaps been more classy. The French Bisonnat, Patrick Baudry, brought Chateau Lynch-Bages 1975 during his Salyut trip. Orbiting under the influence is, if not quite a tradition, a behavior with a long pedigree. We've been told by sources that'll remain anonymous that the atmosphere emanating from the Russian segment of the ISS has been known to carry a hint of ethanol from time to time. Will space settlements be likewise? Yes. That's not in the book, but yes. At least one author counsels against a Martian distillery anytime soon. Science fiction writer Andy Weir said in the preface to Alcohol in Space that fans often ask whether his heroic Martian survivor and potato farmer Mark Watney could have made liquor. The answer is no, not if he wanted to live. It takes almost 8 kilograms of potatoes to make a bottle of vodka, almost a week of meals for our poor stranded astronaut. For our poor stranded astronaut, yes. Okay, words. Also, is liquor in space Andy's, or alcohol in space Andy's book, or is it he just in the preface? Since I have lost my place anyway, I'm going to read your message here, Elaine. There's a Final Fantasy XIV culinary quest line where a scientist came up with the quote-unquote perfect food. The only problem is everyone who eats it upchucks, and your job is to make it actually edible without losing too much nutritional value. You have a feeling whoever created that quest read stories like this about astronauts? I would believe it. Astronauts have a lot of opinions about their food, and I don't blame them. There you go, that's my gin and coke in a goblet gone. Warm. It's likely that a future space settlement will still make use of a lot of these preservative technologies, both because they'll supplement whatever we can grow off-world, and because they provide a taste of home. After 2 years of locally grown organic vegetables, a sleeve of slightly space-irradiated Oreos may start to look pretty tempting. People who study space psychology report good food as one of the most important factors in day-to-day well-being. An idea also found in books from the era of polar exploration. Also, by routing that food into humans, we effectively create a source of additional soil for our space farm. However, the more food we can grow on site, the more efficient, resilient, and potentially permanent our space settlement becomes. A farmer on Mars, the fresh future of space food. Okay, Lebedev I can at least pronounce because we're here at cosmonaut names again. Cosmonaut Valentin Lebedev never liked gardening on Earth, but in orbit he fell in love with tending green life in an artificial world. As he said, a tiny leaf opened up and it seemed to fling open a bright window out into the world. Which, as someone who gets deeply seasonally depressed in winter, I get it. Sometimes you just want something green, and also, you know, life. Anyway, moving on. Plants clean the air while creating more organic matter on lifeless worlds. They also provide nutrients like vitamin C, which are hard to keep shelf stable. Lack of vitamin C produces scurvy, and while that would give the operation a charmingly piratical flair, settlers would probably prefer not to have bleeding gums, wiggly teeth, and wounds that won't heal. We know plants can be grown in space stations so long as you supply water, atmosphere, nutrients, and a grow bed. The ISS Vegetable Production System and the later Automated Plant Habitat have successfully grown plants like Mizuna mustard, kale, lettuce, dwarf wheat, and Chinese cabbage. As with humans in space, keeping plants alive isn't a simple procedure, but the good news is they don't just immediately up and die on you. However, saying, I can grow food as long as there's water, atmosphere, and nutrients is essentially just saying the growth medium is not actively harming the plant. Lunar regolith may not even clear this low standard. The first experiment growing plants in an actual lunar regolith was only published in 2022 using Arabidopsis thaliana seeds. Latin fucking names for scientific names. Anyway. The soil was supplied with nutrients, water, and a plant-friendly atmosphere. Plants did grow, but poorly. Compared to those in comparably nutrient-crappy Earth soil, plants grown in old Apollo mission samples had a reddish color, usually taken to indicate stress. Further molecular examination also found they had a physiological stress response. They were also smaller than the Earth soil plants. Okay, but we knew the moon was a fixer-upper. How about Mars? You may have read a popular article or two saying that experimenters successfully grew plants in Martian simulant soil. What's typically left out is that the Martian simulant soil doesn't precisely simulate Martian soil, at least not at the chemical level, since it doesn't start with any perchlorates in it. Simulant soil is a particular product that captures some of the texture of Mars soil, but is really just Earth soil that is the closest match to what we think Mars soil would be. Nobody has ever grown a plant in Mars soil, but most likely Mars dirt will require an involved process of cleansing and fertilizing and seeding with microbes, and even if it works out, we'll need to validate that the plants themselves are safe for human consumption. Otherwise, the solution may be hydroponic or aeroponic gardening, where nutrient-laced water or air replace soil. What? Oh, shadow on the ceiling. Toy! Play! Okay. By the way, lighting will be a problem. For reasons we'll discuss later, you probably can't use glass as your exterior. If you're on Mars, the light levels are already substantially lower than on Earth, and occasionally the sky is blotted out with dust. Likely you're using an artificial light source, or perhaps piping light from the surface via fiber optic cables, or both. Also, just as with humans, we don't know for sure how microgravity in space radiation will affect plants. A recent mission by the European Space Agency called EUCROPIS tried to answer this question by growing plants in a small satellite, but was thwarted by a software. I should have just read the footnote. But anyway, EUCROPIS. As an obscure trivia fact, note that the EU is not for Europe, but Euglena, for the microorganisms used in the study. Interesting, because I definitely would have assumed Europe. Elaine says the next Mars rover needs a greenhouse on top. I mean, would be fascinating, but I suspect we probably need more hands-on intervention than that. But, you know, I'm down. Anyway, so it was thwarted by a software malfunction, an excuse we have ever used, or have ever after used for the death of our own houseplants. It's a software malfunction if your plants die. More successful was China's Chang'e 4, which sprouted cotton on the far side of the moon. It did pretty well until the sub-Antarctic lunar night overtook its container, freezing it to death. But hey, so far so good. So much for gardening. Can we ranch? Yes and no. As a general rule, the larger the animal, the less efficient it is at converting fodder to meat. At least initially. Cows are out, pigs are out, chickens are okay, but squirrel is better. In fact, why not hamsters? Because there's a better option. Insects. Baby! Time for Raz's Eat Bugs rant! Anyway, not really, but also, yes. But also, I don't think hamsters have a very efficient meat quantity either. But yes, bugs, insects, what's not to like? They reproduce quickly, don't take up a lot of space, eat food scraps, are high in protein, and you never name one Wilbur and fall in love with it. Proposed bug protein sources include crickets, silkworms, mealworms, hawk moths, drugstore beetles, termites, and flies. Whether you enjoy these is a matter of taste, or possibly a matter of treachery. According to a 2020 editorial in the journal Foods, several consumer studies have concluded that hiding insects in traditional foods can increase people's willingness to eat insect-based foods. Well, yeah. You just make it look like it's not a bug, and that helps, like, a lot. Anyway, slightly more sci-fi options include bioreactors that make meat from cells. A number of startups are already working on this sort of technology, and at least in theory you could create the meat of cows, pigs, goats, and other large animals without having to bring along 2 of each kind. One expert we spoke to wanted to take things even below the cellular level. He suspected plants might be grown for spices, but that otherwise we should create our meals from fundamental food building blocks like fats and amino acids. Others thought we should just keep it simple and go vegan in space. Not everyone's favorite option, but it might complement your Venusian kombucha hut. Just don't eat the walls. Venusian kombucha hut. But also, like crickets, man. I'm sorry, it's the easy option, and I feel like a lot of people would have an easier time adapting to eating a cricket burger than going full vegan, you know? Because full vegan's a lot, and not everyone can survive on that. Like, a lot of people can, maybe even most people, but a lot can't, so... And yeah, Elaine, honestly, algae soup, probably also highly nutritious, would work. But yeah. Closing the loop. Building a space ecosystem and then not dying inside it. For a completely closed loop ecology, we'd like as much as possible to be recycled. Your breath, the moisture from your body gives off, urine, feces, flaking skin cells, and whatever effluvium is currently radiating from your mortal coil. In an orbital space station, you'd really want to get as close to 100% as possible. On the Moon or Mars, there can be substantially more tolerance, though you'll still have to be mindful of those elements that are hard to replace locally, such as carbon on the Moon or phosphorus on Mars, and nitrogen almost anywhere. Other than the creation of yesterday's coffee, we don't have a lot of experience with in-space recycling. The ISS is big for a space station, but likely far too small to ever have a self-contained ecosystem. We say likely because you're never going to get anywhere close to the plant-to-human ratio of Earth with 6 people in such a small container. That said, it'd be quite valuable to know in principle how small you could make one of these systems. For the moment, we don't know. Closed-loop ecologies are complicated, and not a lot of money has gone into them. Effluvium, there's a word. Effluvium is a great word. I don't think I've ever had the chance to say it out loud before, but it's a great word. But yeah, the $10 word for sure. The earliest experiments on humans in closed loops were BIOS 1, 2, and 3 systems built in the USSR starting in 1965. They originally tried using pure algae to keep the men alive. In case you've forgotten high school biology, algae are basically plant sludge. They eat carbon dioxide, exhale oxygen, and are a nutritious source of calories that if you don't mind eating the same horrible meal every day forever. Also, algae and plankton. Yes. Well, mostly. Yeah, never mind. Just plankton. Anyway, never mind. That's a fun fact, but I was wrong. I'm gonna backtrack before I finish it. Later, BIOS experiments included plants like wheat, beetroots, and vegetables, and ultimately were able to control CO2 at a reasonable level. A major problem they had, which will be quite relevant for space settlement, was that it took a lot of work. 20% of the crew's time was spent maintaining the system, despite the fact that BIOS was never even close to a completely closed loop. Solid waste was not recycled, and meat was imported into the experiment. Apparently, a vegetarian diet was never even considered on the basis that Siberians must have their meat. A near completely closed system would only be accomplished in the 1990s and never duplicated afterwards. This is the strange, but we believe undervalued, tale of Biosphere 2. Okay, baby, before we get into the story of Biosphere 2... which is titled Biosphere 2, Contrary to Legend, Not an Unmitigated Calamity. Honestly, I do very much enjoy the sense of humor in this book. And thank you for the hydrate and the spoiling the baby, Elaine. Damn it. Why is there so much fluff Elaine, considering how many people get nauseous at the word moist, you wonder what the percentage of the population who could deal with this kind of recycling. Yeah. Like, in general, I think it really takes a certain kind of person to be willing to live in space at all. But also, a lot of people who think they would be willing to live in space have not considered these angles. Yes, I get it. You need attention. And I'm literally about to give you a treat. Sit down. Hey, sit. 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 Mother. Mom. Mama. Mom. Sit. Still. You're being such a twerp. Yes. Okay, you're grabbing at the wrong finger. There you go. But yeah, like, living in space is not for the weak of constitution in terms of your stomach. Yeah, like, people are gross, and living in space, you have to confront that a lot more than you do in modern life on Earth. Okay, baby, you got your treat, you're getting your pets, you're spoiled as fuck. Baby. 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 Bonk. She gonna fall over. There it is. Stop knocking over my art! Stop it. Smush. Smushy baby. I love you, you're such a smush. Okay. She didn't like that. Anyway. Onward! To the story of Biosphere 2, which was apparently not an unmitigated calamity. Okay. Sorry, I gotta mark those as complete. What are you? Sit! Earth is Biosphere 1. So naturally, Biosphere 2 is a 3.14 acre nearly airtight greenhouse in Arizona containing the most complex sealed ecosystem ever created by humans. It was born through a strange partnership between a billionaire and an enigmatic counterculture technologist group called the Synergists. They weren't quite a cult, but they were at least, let's say, cult adjacent. This created issues. Their charismatic leader, John Allen, had space in mind when he designed Biosphere 2, but his training and crew selection notions weren't exactly NASA's. To find the right people, he sent the candidates on a weirdly 1990s eco-adventure through the outback and on the high seas. No doubt his explanation would be more involved, but it sure seems like a major criterion for selection was John Allen thinks you're cool. Socially, things didn't go great. Early in their stay in Biosphere 2, the crew of 8 began fighting, ultimately splitting into 2 hateful factions, each consisting of 2 women and 2 men. With more than a year to go, they were no longer on speaking terms. They stopped dining together or even making eye contact. Jane Pointer, one of the 8 Biospherians, recalled a day in which 2 different members of the opposite faction spat on her, separately, in a sort of coordinated saliva strike. Biosphere 2 had been set up with lessons for a future settlement and base in mind, which apparently stayed on the minds of the participants. As Pointer said this rift, perhaps on Mars, with the safety of home at least 48 million miles away, we would have been able to pull together. But then again, perhaps not. I wondered if people are really meant to be enclosed in small spaces, even as large, beautiful, and varied as Biosphere 2. The human species, after all, did not evolve indoors. Lillifer in my book. There were also particular reasons why relations broke down, mostly having to do with a dispute with the equivalent of mission control. However, the deeper issue was likely the screening process. We have trouble imagining a crew made of Chris Hadfields doing this sort of thing. There were also problems with food production. Shortly after the experiment ended, crew member Sally Silverstone published a book of recipes they'd used, called Eating In, From the Field to the Kitchen in Biosphere 2. Opposite page 1 is a photo of the 8 Biospherians smiling awkwardly on the first anniversary of their stay, each looking substantially more gaunt than your typical chef. In fact, they were starving. The half-feral chickens they'd hoped would be especially robust had failed to lay eggs regularly, and the unusual breed of pigs they'd selected had been reluctant to eat scraps, sometimes preferring to eat the chickens instead. Jesus? Like, pigs will eat anything. What pigs did you bring? Anyway, the footnote to that, according to Eating In from the Field to Kitchen in Biosphere 2, the chickens were a cross between jungle fowl, basically the ancestors of chickens, presumably accustomed to tougher fare than chicken feed, and the silky breed of domesticated chickens. They weren't great, laying only about 1 egg a month each, though possibly they would have done better on a higher calorie diet. The pigs were originally going to be Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs, which were supposed to be small and high in fat, but at the time they were also a popular pet, which caused anger from activists, so the Ossabaw feral swine was used. They ate chickens and wanted starchy food over scraps. Thus, their final contribution to Biosphere 2 came during Thanksgiving and Christmas, 1992. Ham! Anyway. Okay. Insects and microbes attacked their crops, withering several high-protein, high-calorie species. Ultimately, they were forced to eat unripe bananas and an unpalatable type of beans normally used to feed farm animals. And that were only usable after cooking for an hour and hiding them in non-terrible food. None of these people had been exactly corpulent prior to entry, but the men had lost about 18% of their body weight and the women about 10%. This was despite at one point eating seed intended for future planting. The ecosystem suffered too. The designers of Biosphere 2's ecology used a technique that may be used in space one day called species packing. The idea is that you start with a lot of species, many of which are ecologically redundant, on the assumption that some will be wiped out before balance is achieved. This indeed happened, but they ended up packing more than they intended. Proposals for space settlements sometimes note the possibility of precisely selecting what life forms come along with the project. In the one big experiment where this was tried, at least 2 stowaways came along: cockroaches and bark scorpions. In case you don't have a sense of what bark scorpions are like, the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum supplies what they call extra fun facts, including, this is the only species of scorpion in Arizona that is truly considered life-threatening. Ha ha! Everything is fine! The biospherians also nearly lost control of the atmosphere. In a functioning closed loop, CO2 and O2 do a sort of dance as animals convert oxygen into carbon dioxide and plants do the reverse. But at one point, the O2 started falling even as CO2 kept rising. This was not supposed to happen, and the crew became breathless and lethargic as they tried to do their work, frantically adding new plant life wherever they could steal a patch of sunlight. It didn't help. After an acrimonious debate, the leadership team decided to pipe in fresh oxygen. What happened? The choice of high organic matter soil meant that microorganisms pulled a lot of oxygen out of the atmosphere, releasing CO2. Then, some of that CO2 was absorbed by structural concrete, effectively locking a huge amount of oxygen out of the system. So why do we say it wasn't a calamity? For one thing, it more or less worked. 8 people entered, 8 left. The problems they had could have been rectified for future experiments simply by selecting better animals and modes of pest control, and by having concrete coated with epoxy so it wasn't actively suffocating the humans. Possibly also by adding a question about spitting on coworkers as part of the screening process. Some errors were downright trivial. Several high-calorie fruit trees like mango and avocado were simply not fruiting by the time the experiment began, but would have been for subsequent crews. At one point, the crew were mildly poisoning themselves because they had no idea how to cook the taro they were growing. Yeah, that's fixable. Biosphere 2 was originally intended to do consecutive 2-year stints on an ongoing basis, but it was cancelled partway through the second round due to financial issues and infighting. Footnote about the infighting. As an irrelevant but too weird to skip coda, Chris Bannon and his brother Steve Bannon, later director of the 2016 Donald Trump presidential campaign, were brought in to take over the financially strained experiment as it careened towards its demise. That is, in fact, a really weird fact. Don't send Martha Alito. You're not wrong. What is that face? Mother stopped petting me. I'm concerned about it. I'm so concerned. Baby. Anyway. If it had continued, likely we would have a lot more data on how to maximize production and safety. Assuming these problems could be solved, could the whole system have been ported to Mars? Nope. Most important, the structure would have to be changed. On Earth, the air pressure inside Biosphere 2 was relatively close to the pressure outside. Still, the system required 2 huge lungs to make sure that the expansion and contraction of the atmosphere due to temperature change was accommodated. Okay, so there's a little illustration with the structure here. So these are the lungs, aka spaces for extra air, and then it's intensive agriculture, biomes, and uncomfortably human habitat because it looks like a dick. Uncomfortably Freudian. Oh my god, baby, you're such a mush. Look at you. Okay, where, oh my god, how are these chapters this long? Whatever, there's 3 pages left, we can do this. We can do this. I believe in us. Anyway. This will be trickier in the near vacuum of space. On the ISS, windows have 4 panes of glass each, the thinnest of which are a little over 1¼ centimeters thick, and the thickest of which is over 3 centimeters. It may be possible to duplicate something like this over several acres in space, but it will not be cheap. A likely alternative will be to bury the whole thing underground, having regolith supply the outside pressure. But now you absolutely have to pipe in or generate light by some means. That's not great, but then again, you're likely going to heap regolith on your home anyway to deal with radiation and temperature swings. Biosphere 2 would likely also require efficiency improvements to work on Mars. Remember, if you want bread inside the biosphere, you start with seeds planted in the ground. You have to grow wheat, take it to a threshing machine, grind the seeds, and then start the normal process of baking. If you'd like cheese on your toast, you'll have to be a goat herd with a cheesemaker. Or you'll have to... yeah. A goat herd, have to be a goat herd and a cheesemaker. Effectively, you're subsistence farming on a tiny plot of land that sometimes requires technical system maintenance. The result in Biosphere 2 was an average workload of 8 to 10 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. This is despite not doing all the chores of a space settlement, including running a power plant, doing construction, manufacturing, and at some point taking care of children. A long-term space settlement will benefit from quite a bit of division of labor, but that'll be tricky if everyone has to be a full-time farmer just to not quite starve. Kelly once talked to a group of researchers who work on closed-loop ecologies and asked them what they thought of Biosphere 2. A common view was that it was cool, but too ambitious. For the cost, which was around $300 million to $400 million in today's money, better science could have been accomplished using a series of small facilities, scaling up as you go. Because we didn't have such a methodical approach, Biosphere 2 remains a sort of tantalizing proof of concept. It doesn't prove that we can build ecologies on other worlds, but it strongly winks at the possibility. How well it would do trying to scale to the population through 5 orders of magnitude is a different question. There have been other, smaller-scale experiments since. For example, Japan's closed ecology experiment facilities, in which the system successfully supplied most of the food for 2 human econauts, as well as their goats, but had difficulty supplying the needed levels of oxygen. China operates the Lunar Permanent Astrobase Life Support Artificial Closed Ecosystem, or just the PALACE. Clearly, their acronym game is already equal to NASA's. The Lunar Palace has had crews of 3 do partial seal-ins and had good success recycling water and clearing carbon dioxide out of the air with plants, particularly when the crew included 2 female members who were smaller than the males on the crews. The European Space Agency has a very methodical ecosystem project called the Micro-Ecological Life Support System Alternative, or MELISSA, but they aren't including humans just yet. These are the right type of systems to enhance our knowledge of closed-loop ecology, but none are nearly on the scale of Biosphere 2, which itself wasn't nearly on the scale needed for space settlement. Space composting! Not as cool as space travel, but very important. We would love to be able to share a more definitive science of, say, how to put 100 humans in a glass bubble and have them live indefinitely. We don't have it. In some sense, this is the ultimate proof that space agencies are not oriented around space settlement. Biosphere 2 cost around 0.1% of the ISS. People can debate what the point of space stations is, but if they're a part of a project leading to human settlement off-world, this is not a good allocation of resources. For the same cost as the ISS, 500 biospheres could have been built. Better yet, a decades-long sequence of experiments could have been run in order to create what we really need, an extremely detailed computer model for how to design sealed worlds. What life forms to use, how to arrange them, how to make them as efficient as possible, and how to maximize human population of well-being inside. Oh, and there'd be the side benefits of deeply enhancing our knowledge of ecosystem sustainability and our ability to create food efficiently in environments without hospitable climates, both potentially relevant in the coming decades. Everything is fine. A major reason governments pay to stick tiny habitats full of humans in orbit is national prestige, looking smart and strong in front of the world community. Blasting humans in a rocket to the moon is substantially more impressive than creating detailed reports about how to turn poop and food scraps into wheat. But if the goal of space agencies is eventual space settlement, this sort of thing should get a lot more funding, even if it generates a collective yawn among the public. If we cannot supply on-site agriculture, space settlement only works with constant vast shipments of food. This may be possible on the moon at tremendous cost, but would be very risky on faraway Mars. More concerted efforts in closed-loop technology would also provide sociological insights. Just as we don't know enough about closed loops, we don't know enough about how humans handle life in these bubbles. That would be useful because we, the apes, bring our own chaos to ecology. Earlier, we cited Andy Weir, who said booze would be a bad idea in space because it would destroy valuable calories. He's not wrong biologically, but psychologically he may be missing an insight. Not to second-guess Mr. Weir, but in fact the calorie-deprived biospherians did make booze. Okay, so there's a chart here. It's 1.5 pounds dried banana, half a teaspoon yeast nutrient, 1 sachet of wine yeast, Campton tablets, occasionally optionally add to water as a disinfectant, and jar with an airlock. Add banana and yeast nutrient to gallon of hot water, cool to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, cover with plastic, stir daily for 1 week. Strain into jar for fermentation. Strain sediment at 3 and 6 months. Makes 3 bottles. Bottle when stable and clear, 10 months. Banana booze! Banana booze. Anyway, adapted from Sally Silverstone's recipe in Eating In. So the book about what they cooked there included this booze recipe. Anyway. In order to brew up wine, they use several of their reliable calorie sources: bananas, rice, and beets. And footnote, in fairness, you would lose a lot more calories going from food to liquor than just going from food to wine. Perhaps there's a compromised position on booze for starving Martians. Here we could accuse the biospherians of behaving irrationally, but we believe the picture is a bit more rich. It's not irrational to seek comforts. Living in a sealed bubble, physically separated from loved ones, occasionally getting spat upon by coworkers, well, who wouldn't want to tuck into a glass of fermented beets on a starlit Saturday night? The ultimate goal of space settlement isn't surviving, but thriving. That means accommodating human frailty in an environment that isn't always welcome to human existence. If we are ever going to build permanent space settlements, we need to integrate all of this into a science just as urgently as we need to build vehicles that can take us to Mars. The good news for Astrid is that we'll assume everything is worked out and she's raised those kids to not spit on coworkers. Astrid is our hypothetical space astronaut, if anyone has forgotten. Okay, that was, in fact, the end of the chapter. We did it! We did it, and it only took us 50 minutes. Fantastic. I believe in us. Again, I would love to keep going, but we would be here all night and then some if I wanted to do another chapter or two. So, unfortunately, not great. I do not know when our next reading stream will be. I do really deeply want to keep doing this, but Mondays have been weird for me. But we'll see how things go. I just don't want to make any promises about it, basically. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And yeah, like, if we end up not reading that much more, or if we, God, what am I talking about? Words are hard. If we end up not doing Mondays, we can very much seriously consider reading this on another day as well. So part of me is very tempted to raid Tango again, if any of you want to go watch Tango playing Mass Effect, I would recommend that. But what I'm going to do instead is raid our friend OMG Chunga, who is currently playing Ocarina of Time. So that's fun. Elaine, you had to double check to make sure all of Lily's treats had been redeemed. Yeah, only 2 hours and still 3 treats, you spoiled twerp. I love you, baby girl. Don't fall off the desk again. We know where that goes. Hi. Bonk. That bonk was just for you guys. That was Lily's goodbye bonk. Good bonk. Anyway. I don't know, I guess that's the whole thing. I've enjoyed chatting and reading with you guys. I'm glad I decided to stream tonight. And I'm glad to be back from vacation. I am going to set up this raid and then we will go. And yeah, that's the whole deal. I guys just stream clips, of course. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Fall off the desk again, Lily. It's great content. Anyway, I love you guys. I will see you all tomorrow. I don't know what we'll be doing, but you know, whatever. We'll be here. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go watch some Ocarina of Time. Bye.